The first thing I saw when I stepped onto my new lawn wasn't a welcome basket. It was the barrel of a gun, and behind it, a man who had already decided I didn't belong. I had lived in that house for exactly 3 hours. My name is Denise Carter. 3 weeks before that Saturday morning, I had been sworn in as a federal district judge. Before that, I spent 12 years prosecuting civil rights cases. I built careers out of holding institutions accountable. I believed in procedure, in law, and the system working if you pushed it hard enough. But that morning, the system didn't see a judge. It saw a black woman carrying boxes, and that was enough. I bought the house in a gated neighborhood called Prescott Ridge because I wanted something simple for my 10-year-old daughter, Naomi. Good schools, quiet streets, space to breathe. I thought that was a universal dream. I was wrong. At 9:15 a.m., the moving truck pulled in. Naomi ran straight to the big window in her new bedroom. She loved the light. She was already talking about purple curtains. By 11:30, most of the boxes were inside. I had a tape measure tucked into my waistband while checking the door frame. That tape measure would later become a weapon in a 911 transcript. At 11:38 a.m., someone dialed emergency services. I would later hear the recording. There's a woman going in and out of the house. I don't think she lives here. She doesn't belong here. She said that phrase twice. She doesn't belong here. 7 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled onto my lawn. They didn't stop at the mailbox. They didn't check the moving invoice taped to the door with my full name on it. They didn't knock. They drew their weapons. Drop it. Hands up. Was holding a box labeled Naomi's Books. I set it down slowly. My name is Denise Carter. This is my home. My ID is in my back pocket. The officer closest to me smirked. Sure it is. I kept my voice steady. My daughter is inside. She's 10. Please don't frighten her. He didn't lower his weapon. He didn't ask for ID. He told me to get on the ground. I did. Slowly. Deliberately. Because I knew something they didn't. Escalation never ends well for people who look like me. When his knee pressed into my back, the first thing I heard wasn't the click of handcuffs. It was Naomi screaming. That sound, it doesn't leave you. Even now, the officer entered my home without a warrant. Naomi later told me she thought I was being taken away forever. She was crouched behind a couch in a house she had lived in for less than 4 hours. I lay on the lawn, cheek pressed to fresh sod, listening to my child cry for me while I was told not to move. That was the moment I understood something. This wasn't confusion, it was assumption. Okay, an assumption had arrived armed. Then something changed. A voice cut through the tension. Officers, you are making a serious mistake. It was my neighbor, Gerald Forsythe, a retired civil litigator. He had introduced himself that morning. He held up his phone. She was confirmed to the federal bench 3 weeks ago. There was silence. The officer's posture shifted. Not because I was a homeowner, not because I said I lived there, but because of my title. That realization settled heavier than the cuffs had. They uncuffed me after a supervisor arrived. The sergeant apologized. She asked if I was hurt. I said my daughter. That was all that mattered. Inside, Naomi was shaking. She wouldn't let go of my jacket for the rest of the day. That night, she asked me something I wasn't prepared for. Mom, if you weren't a judge, would they have taken you? I didn't answer right away, because I knew the truth. Yes, they probably would have. No one would have shown up with closing documents. That was the lowest point, not the lawn, not the cuffs. The question. By Sunday morning, the videos were online. Neighbors had recorded everything. Within 48 hours, investigators requested the 911 call. Patterns surfaced quickly. Multiple prior calls from the same address about suspicious individuals, all unfounded. Emails from the HOA president encouraging residents to report anyone who looks out of place. The phrase again, out of place. The officers' body cameras told their own story. Procedures skipped, verification ignored, assumptions made before arrival. According to court filings later released, federal investigators opened an inquiry into whether civil rights violations had occurred. Internal Affairs launched parallel reviews. I recused myself from any case connected to the incident. I would not preside over my own injury. Instead, I did what I had done my entire career. I documented. I organized. I filed. The lawsuit named the city, the department, the officers involved, and the homeowners association. not for revenge, for correction. Discovery revealed something larger than my lawn. Dozens of calls over several years originating from Prescott Ridge. Each one about a person of color. Each one unfounded. It was a pattern hiding behind polite landscaping and quarterly newsletters. The city settled the civil case months later. Publicly released agreements confirmed financial compensation, but more importantly, structural reforms, mandatory property verification protocols before force, independent civilian oversight, public demographic audits of police calls, expanded de-escalation training. The officers involved were terminated following internal review. According to public court records, criminal charges were later filed. Verdicts were reached, sentences imposed. The former HOA president pleaded guilty to filing a false report. What began as a phone call ended as a precedent. Weaponized emergency calls were no longer dismissed as misunderstandings. They were treated as intentional acts. Naomi started therapy the following week. She had nightmares about sirens. She asked if police could break into houses anytime they wanted. We planted new sod where the cruiser had torn through the lawn. Purple curtains went up in her bedroom. The HOA dissolved and restructured under new bylaws. A small plaque was installed at the gate. This community welcomes all residents. I didn't ask for it, but I noticed it. Months later, I walked into my chambers for the first time in judicial robes. Naomi handed me a drawing she made, 2 figures holding hands in front of a house with purple curtains. No police cars, no guns, just home. I placed it on my desk. My first case that week involved housing discrimination. I didn't mention what happened to me. I didn't have to. People asked me what hurt the most. It wasn't the cuffs. It wasn't the headlines. It wasn't even the lawn. It was the assumption, quiet certainty in someone else's mind that I didn't belong. I didn't need them to know I was a judge. I needed them to treat me like a citizen. That should have been enough. Belonging isn't about titles. It isn't about gates. It isn't about who confirms you. It's about whether the law protects you before it recognizes you. And that Saturday morning, the law showed up late. But it showed up. This time it stayed.